Hi guys, I'm going to continue reading the story. Right, chapter 5, Trouble in Paradise. The sound of the violin fills the silence of the very, very neat flat. It only belonged to Thomas McGregor. As he plays his violin, he looks across the street at Harrods. Through the window, he can see his precious toy department. He has always loved living so close to work until now. McGregor opens the door to find a postman on his delivery round. Thomas McGregor? Sign here, please, says the postman, who checks the return address on the package. From Windermere, fancy place that. You must know some fancy people. I don't know anyone from Windermere, says Mr. McGregor. It's from unclaimed property. Usually means you've inherited something, says the postman helpfully, and hands the package over. Mr. McGregor quickly opens it to see that it is a will with several pictures of Mr. McGregor's manor and a key. Thomas has inherited a manor from a great uncle he's never met. Windermere, that's out in the country. Thomas McGregor can't keep the disgust from his voice. Fancy country, said the postman. Houses there go for a king's ransom. How rich a country is that king from, says McGregor, considering his options. An idea is starting to form in his mind. Ransom enough to buy my own store? I imagine so, says the postman, leaning against the door frame and filling it with the finest merchandise, says McGregor. Should do, yes, says the postman. Big enough to have tempered glass shelving and seasonal window displays. Mr. McGregor can almost see it in his own store. That I'd have to do some research on, sir. Can I get back to you at mail time tomorrow? Asked the postman. Mr. McGregor's face rearranges into a triumphant smile. When one door closes, another one opens. Thomas decides to take the biggest leap of his life. He is going to the countryside after all. Thomas's mission takes him to Paddington Station. It's one of the busiest stations in London, taking crowds of people to every corner of the country and beyond. And right in the middle of this crowd are two tiny grey feet, the feet of one of Johnny Townmouse. He is a confident streetwise mouse dressed in a blue blazer, a shirt and a red tie. Come through, excuse me, darling. On your left, says Thomas Townmouse. He weaves his way under the feet of the bustling commuters making their way through the station. He spots a pretty mouse pulling her suitcase. Need some help, love? A pretty mouse like you shouldn't be carrying all that weight unless you want to give me a swoop. Before Johnny Townmouse can finish flirting with the poor, unexpected pretty mouse, he gets collected up in a dustpan, wielded by a maintenance man. The girl mouse walks off, but after a minute, Johnny drops right back by her side. His clothes might be dishevelled and covered in rubbish, but it doesn't leave him undespair. She rolls her eyes and disappears into the crowd. Johnny is unfazed. Coming through, he yells, but his voice is drowned out by Mr. McGregor. Round trip to Windermere, says McGregor. Johnny smiles and jumps into McGregor's bag. That's exactly where he was heading. The train travels through the city as Mr. McGregor finds an empty seat and makes himself comfortable. He is not the only one. Hidden below, Johnny Townmouse is also making himself comfortable in the mouse compartment. A few other mice are already there, eating and playing cards. How's it going, boys? Johnny Townmouse is in the house. Recognise? He announced to everyone as he takes off his hat and puts it on what he thinks is a hook. It isn't. The hat falls down into a vent, which sucks it away. Johnny pauses for a millisecond, but powers on. Last season's style anyway, he says. Johnny opens his briefcase and takes out another hat. Proud of his fashion-forward thinking. Where do you fiddly-dotes head? Johnny asked his fellow mice. Blackpool. We've got to share a house on the beach. Going to be epic, says a mouse wearing a tracksuit. That's cute, but I'm not in play school anymore. My ticket says Windermere, boasts Johnny. Off to visit your grandmother, asks another mouse, causing everyone to laugh out loud. Laugh it up, Smucks. I'm heading to the biggest party of the year. And not just mouses, all kinds. Squirrels, rabbits, puddle ducks, he says. Above, Mr. McGregor opens the guidebook to the Lake District. He flips through the pages just as the women appear in the doorway to his compartment. Are these seats free? She asked with a smile. Of course. Please, said Mr. McGregor, a smile appearing across his own face. Kids, this way, hurry up, pile in, yells the woman of 4 wild children. Run up to the seats. They start wrestling, playing video games. One of the children has a cage with 2 gerbils inside. Mr. McGregor's smile quickly turned into a sad frown. The gerbils in the cage whisper to Johnny Townmouse, help us, as dust falls, the train pulls out of Windermere Station, leaving Mr. McGregor alone on the platform. He doesn't notice that Johnny Townmouse is standing beside him, nor does he see the newly freed gerbil standing right beside Johnny as the train rushes past. Johnny sees the boys on the train holding the empty gerbil cage. Their mother is furious, looking for their missing pets. I can spin around and not touch a wall, says the first gerbil, still not quite believing he is